When he got home, he was completely distracted. He messed up the baby's formula twice, adding too many scoops. Felicia noticed and gently took the bottle from his hands. "Silas, honey, is everything okay at work?" He snapped out of his trance and simply shook his head, offering a forced smile. Then, his phone rang again. Silas held the baby in one arm while fishing the phone out with his free hand. The caller ID read, "Major Crimes Unit." The baby nuzzled against his shoulder as he answered with a stiff neck. "Is this Silas Guthrie speaking? There has been a major breakthrough in the missing person case for your wife, Nora Guthrie." Silas's fingers stiffened against the baby's back. "Nora isn't missing. She is just throwing a tantrum. We haven't been in touch. That is all. Do you actually have evidence of a disappearance, or are we wasting taxpayers' money?" There was a long pause on the other end. "Mr. Guthrie, we have records showing Nora was admitted to Eastwood Medical Center 2 years ago." Silas cut him off harshly. "That is impossible. 2 years ago she bought a ticket to Key West after an argument. She never went to Eastwood." "Sir, we have the ambulance dispatch logs and the hospital admission files." Silas went silent, his face turning a sickly shade of pale. Felicia walked out of the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. "Who was that?" Silas hung up the phone immediately. "Wrong number," he lied. He handed the baby to Felicia and walked out onto the balcony. He didn't turn on the lights. He leaned against the railing and lit a cigarette, took one drag, and immediately crushed it out. He had quit 3 years ago because I told him I hated the smell of tobacco. He pulled out his phone and opened our old chat history. The last message was still that text from 2 years ago. "If you don't come get me right now, I am never coming back." He stared at those words for a long time. I remembered that day so clearly. Felicia had been his star intern. I had visited his office and caught them in a moment that felt far too intimate. That was the first time I had truly screamed at him. Silas had just rubbed his temples back then. "You are overreacting, Nora. She is just an assistant. We were discussing a brief." After that, the fighting became a daily routine. Silas didn't take it seriously. In fact, he started spending even more time with Felicia. On the day I left, Silas had forgotten our anniversary because Felicia was sick and needed him. I had dropped the divorce papers on his desk. I asked him to choose me or Felicia. He hesitated. In that moment of silence, I knew. He had fallen for her. I was a proud woman. I couldn't accept a third person in my marriage. But on my way out, I never expected a semi-truck to plow into my car. I was rushed to the ER clinging to life. Even then, I hallucinated that Silas would hear the news and come running to save me. I never imagined I would never take another breath. Silas waited until Felicia and the baby were fast asleep before heading back out. He went straight to the precinct to see Lyle Jansen again. "Tell me where she is. I'll take your case." Lyle didn't look surprised at all. He sat up straight and looked Silas in the eye. "She is dead." "Silas, gone." Silas slammed his fist against the plexiglass. "If you don't start telling the truth, I am walking out that door for good." Lyle just shrugged. "I am telling the truth. Believe it or not, it is your funeral." "That is a lie. She is probably living some secret life just to spite me." "Counselor, stop lying to yourself. Go check the archives at Eastwood Medical Center. She died on the table. No emergency contact could be reached, so the hospital handled the remains." Hearing those words, the memory hit me like a physical blow. After I died, the nurses had tried to call Silas repeatedly, but he was at Felicia's side, ignoring every buzz of his phone later. When he finally answered a call at work, he only heard the first few words before scolding the caller. "If Nora told you to call and pull this stunt, tell her it isn't working. I've signed the papers. We're done. Don't call me again." Leaving the detention center, Silas looked like a walking ghost. He got into his car and pulled a small velvet box from the glove compartment. He opened it to find a small silver protection locket. I clenched my invisible fists at the sight of it. I grew up as an orphan, fighting for every inch of my life. Silas had fallen for me at first sight in college and chased me relentlessly. I was focused on my studies and rejected him over and over during my sophomore year. I witnessed a violent mugging while working a side job. The trauma gave me a fever